So it's not the first YouTube channel to start a guitar brand, and it sure won't be the last, but today, a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers has decided to get into the guitar business. You probably know about the channel, obviously it has 1 million subs, called Samurai Guitarist. This is the Otero guitar. Now Otero is his last name, and it's made by Court. So it's made by PT Court in Indonesia. This is a guitar he dreamed up and worked on it for many years. If you go to his channel, you'll see a video he made. It spans the entire time that it took to design the guitar, from the original drawings to the different prototypes to the concessions he had to make to the changes he had to make. Another thing I gotta tell you is I went to PT Court in Indonesia, had the owner of Court take a picture of me with it. I'm sharing it with you right now just because it was really exciting to see it. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the geeky stuff. And as always, if you don't know, I fill out detailed sheets, so you can click the link down in the description and get even more details about this guitar or see any details you may have missed. So starting with the back, we're gonna have a basswood body with a bolt-on neck with 4 furls. We have a 3-piece quarter sawn maple neck. So you have 1, 2, 3 pieces. Clouson style tuning keys. There again, it says that it's made by Court, and the model number is the OTTK-1. And the headstock is at a slight angle. Looking at the front, there's a couple things to know. On the pickguard, there's a cherry blossom, which I think makes the guitar look amazing. However, he explained that he thought that might be a little bit over the top for a lot of players. So the guitar comes with already installed a white plastic pickguard without the cherry blossom. You get the additional pickguard signed by him and numbered on the back, so you can choose if this is a little much for you. Me, I thought it was gorgeous, but more importantly, my wife has had this guitar in the family room for the last couple months because she thinks it's the most beautiful guitar. Then looking at the front, we have an ash top, so on the basswood body. We have a telly style bridge with 3 brass saddles, a volume and tone control, and then we have a 4-way switch. We'll go over that in the sound samples. And of course, an angled switch control, which I think is fantastic. In the bridge, we have a BG 1400. This is my absolute favorite bridge pickup for Telecasters. The BG 1400 is the Billy Gibbons 1400 by Seymour Duncan. It's a stacked pickup, so it's essentially a humbucker. It sounds to me like a quarter pounder, but it's noiseless, just really throaty, punchy, big sounding. Not spiky on the highs. You know, the highs go into the mids a little bit, so it just feels a little bigger. And again, no 60 cycle hum. Then looking at the neck pickup, you have a Seymour Duncan P90. This is a noiseless P90. This Seymour Duncan is called the Seymour Duncan Silencer P90, and this is another stack pickup that doesn't have 60 cycle hum. You have a dual action spoke wheel truss rod right there, a rosewood fretboard with 21 nickel silver frets, and then a Graphtec nut. This is Tusk with a Q. I absolutely love the shape of this guitar. I love this guitar. Why? Because I love guitars that it's hard to tell the genre. Like, is this a jazz guitar, a blues guitar, a metal guitar, a rock guitar? You know, it's just, it looks fun. It's reminiscent of course, having the tele control layout. It's a Telecaster vibe. You know, and I think he nailed it with the current market. I've talked about this, a couple other guitars, like Eastman and stuff, where some of the newer designs, which have this kind of retro thing that I really think like companies like Dennis Fano with Novo has started, which is to make these guitars that they look like they should have been something from the past, but they're guitars from now. And I think that appeals to a lot younger players right now, more so than some of the most just standard guitars that we see, like the Strats, the Gibsons, the 80s style guitars. Just really cool there. Obviously, because it's a basswood body, it's going to be light, 7.17 pounds or 3.250 kilograms. So a nice weight. And of course, my guess is they'll vary a little bit, but I can't imagine you're going to get an 8-pound guitar out of this with the lighter wood, even with the ash top. It's just because the ash sometimes 50-50 on ash. It'll be either heavy or light, but again, with this only being a top. This color is the only color it comes in, which is this beautiful green. I don't know the actual name of the green. Let's see how they ship the guitar set up. We'll get the measurements. We'll start with the neck relief. We'll push down the first fret and the last fret and see how much plays in the string. You have a little bit of relief. I'll give you the official measurement right there. Okay, and let's go ahead and look at the setup. Looking at the 12th fret, we're at 2.25 millimeters. And on the A, 2 millimeters. D is 1.5. We'll call it 1.75. Yeah, I'm going to call it 1.5 just because. G is 1.5. B is 1.25 and E is 1.5. I want to make some adjustments real quick to the action. The reason why is when the action is about 2 millimeters or below, which is standard as you notice, if you watch the deep dives, you'll know that 80% of the guitars are coming in at that measurement, whether you like it or not. That's just how they're coming. I don't have a problem, checking the frets with that. When they're a little high like this, I want to lower the action. The reason is that if we check the frets now and we don't come across any high frets, when we lower the action, we might discover a problem. So I don't need to straighten the neck. Like I said, it has a little bit of relief, but I'm actually okay with the relief that it has. So I'm not going to adjust that. I just want to adjust the saddles down, and then we'll check intonation afterwards, and I'll give you a report on how the intonation is. Let's go ahead and check the frets and see if we have any dead notes. Here we go. Whoop, uh-oh. Really? I'm just kidding. I just had to mess with him. I know he's gonna be watching. All right, let's keep going. Very nice. Actually what's really interesting is when we look at what we call the handshake, where we grab the guitar here, it's really funny. He didn't scoop out any material here. Just the design, for some reason, lends itself perfectly to holding the guitar right there, putting your hand in the right position right here. Obviously 21 frets, this isn't really gonna be a shredder guitar, but look at that, very comfortable. You see a little bit of rounding right there. Now makes me wonder if they did that on purpose, because again, the edge is perfectly the same, and then here it rounds over, like right there. That's fantastic. So no high frets. Let's go ahead and check to see if there's any gritty frets. And what's funny was the frets have a very under-polished look. They look polished, but not highly polished. So I was kind of expecting a little grit. Nothing gritty right there. So of course, we got to do a sock test. Starting on the treble side. Oh, a little bit, a little catch right there. Go here, you can see right in the center. A little bit of mark right there. I mean, obviously it's very faint. So we'll call that a 4 out of 5. Let's go ahead and switch the sides and do the bass side. And the bass side almost, wow, feels almost identical in the idea of the same thing. It's just a little bit of light marks. So again, a 4 out of 5. In other words, you don't need to polish or sand or file anything. The frets are not protruding in a way that your hand would detect it. Let's do some measurements, starting with the nut width. We are at 42.93 millimeters, so essentially we're right at 43 millimeters, or 1.690. And the width of the 12th fret, 51.96 millimeters, or 2.045. Thickness at the first fret is 21.91 millimeters, or 0.862. And thickness of the 12th fret at the neck is 23.70 millimeters, or 0.933. So that brings us to the scale length. The scale length is 25.5 inches, and that is exactly correct. So a 25.5 inch scale. Radius of the fretboard is 12-inch radius fretboard. Let's go ahead and check out the neck carves. And I actually think I know, yeah, that's exactly it. So this is a U carve, and it's actually the Fender style U carve. So the C carve would be really dramatic, and the U has not as aggressive, softer shoulders. So it goes like this, where the C, think of a C like this, where there's a little bit more of a drop. So let's look at some pickup measurements. We're gonna start with resistance first. Looking at the bridge, we're at 28.4 K. The neck pickup is coming in at 9.39 K. We have the inductance on the bridge coming in at 4.27, and the inductance on the neck coming in at 4.28. Let's look at the electronics. Looking inside the electronics, a couple things to note is we have shielding paint inside the cavity. We missed spots right there, and a spot right there. If you had this guitar, I would get some shielding paint and hit those spots. I do like that they had the shielding paint come over the side right here, and that's so it can touch this plate. Pots, we have 2 alpha pots, and they're both 250K potentiometers. And then we have the 4-way switch, and it's a mechanical switch, so it's nice and robust and it will last a long time. And another thing to point out is they're only making 100 of these guitars, and they're already pre-made. He's not taking pre-orders. They're already ready to ship. And looking at pricing, $1,299 with the gig bag at the time of making this video. So what I want to do is give you some sound samples. I'm going to run this through a Fender Princeton reverb mic'd up with a Sennheiser E609. And we're going to go through the 4 different selections of tones, and I'll give you my pros and cons. Let's start with the neck pickup, which is the noiseless P90 from Seymour Duncan. now to the bridge and neck pickup in parallel, and then I'll give you a sample of what they sound like in series, because that's the extra option that the switch has. Okay, so now let's do the comparison. So I'll switch between the two so you can hear. First parallel, then series. Here we go. I want to go to this bridge position, and this is what I was saying about the bridge having a big sound. So what I did now is I turned on my blues breaker pedal and my delay pedal, and we're just going to go through the pickups, starting with the bridge, work our way to the neck. Okay, here are the pickups in parallel. Okay, and in series. And the neck pickup. All right, so some pros and cons. Okay, we'll start with the cons first. The shielding paint could have been done much better, obviously, to finish shielding the cavity. That would have been a big improvement. The second thing is the fretboard edge is not rolled at all. It's not horribly sharp, but it is sharp enough to where some players who don't like harsh fretboards may take notice to it. Again, I have a video on how to correct that, because one nice thing about this guitar, the coating on the back of the neck is a very thin satin finish, and you would have no trouble rolling your own fretboard edge if you wanted to do it. I do wish it had locking keys, as I'm always a fan of locking keys, especially at a guitar that's $1,300. But the good news is, because of the Kluson style keys, you can get Geiger tuning keys that look exactly like this with the same buttons for about $28 off Amazon, and they will retro pop in. You don't even have to take out the ferrules on the top. You can just put in the locking keys, and again, it'll make your string changes faster. Pros, I think the guitar looks great. I also love that he went with this headstock design. I think this looks really good with the guitar. I think the matching headstock and body look great. I love the choice of pickups. Obviously, I'm a fan of both these pickups, and I love the four-way switch. And I really like the cherry blossom on the pickguard. The point of the guitar is to to be bold, to have its own personality. I like the neck shape, I like the neck feel, I like the way it came out of the box. I told you guys I'd mention the intonation. Intonation was relatively fine. I only had to tweak one saddle just a little bit. But I'd really like to know what you guys think of the guitar. Put a comment down below. I'm really curious to see, and check out his video on the development of this guitar. I think that was probably the biggest insight I think people will have into how this worked. And I think this is really a cool idea, saying, hey, look, have an idea for a guitar, have an idea for a design for a brand. I'm going to work with the biggest factories in the world and keep it relatively small. As always, I want to thank you all for your time. To the next time, know your gear.